My beloved sisters, today I want to speak directly to your hearts, not to wound them, but to awaken them. Stop being a soft woman in the wrong way. Softness is not inherently weakness. However, the wrong kind of softness can break you instead of building you. We live in a time when softness is mistakenly equated with submission to every pain, every person, and every pressure. That's not what Islam teaches. Islam calls upon you to rise above the world. It doesn't ask you to be broken by it. You are not called to remain silent when you're mistreated, to nod quietly when you're wronged, or to smile while being disrespected. No. Islam encourages you to live with honor, dignity, and firm boundaries. You, my sister, were not created to be invisible. You were created to shine, not out of arrogance, but with purpose. Several of you may have been told that a good Muslim woman is one who never speaks up, who tolerates everything for the sake of peace, and who lowers herself so that others can stand tall. But that's not Islam. That's not the path of our mothers in faith. Khadija Razi Allah, the first to believe, was not a quiet shadow behind the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. She was his strength, his comfort, and his wisdom. She didn't tell him to sit down when he was trembling after the revelation. She stood firm and said, "By Allah, he will never disgrace you." That's not softness. That's strength displayed through love. Yet today, some of you are taught to mistake compliance for patience. Sisters, there's a difference. Patience is about remaining firm on your values, even when tested. It does not mean accepting abuse, tolerating manipulation, or staying in situations that damage your faith and dignity. Many of you stay quiet when wrong is being done because you don't want to rock the boat. But if that boat is heading toward harm, should you stay on board? Silence. In the face of injustice is not sabr, patience. It is self-neglect. You were not created to be a people pleaser. You were created to be a servant of Allah. And this comes with responsibility. First to your soul. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The strong is not the one who wrestles, but the one who controls himself in anger." This strength is not just for men, it's for you too. Emotional strength does not lie in hiding your feelings. Rather, it resides in owning them without letting them control you. It's about being able to say, "This hurts me," and still walk away, because Allah doesn't want your heart to be bruised repeatedly in the name of looking patient. Too many sisters have been told to bury their pain, to cover their grief with silence, and to swallow every disrespect with a smile. This is not what the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, taught. This is not what the Quran calls you to. Look at the woman who came to complain about her husband in Surah Al-Mujadilah. Allah didn't tell her, "Be quiet, be patient, go home." No. He revealed verses acknowledging her pain from above the 7 heavens. Why? Because in Islam, your voice matters, your feelings matter, your dignity matters. It's time to stop glorifying the version of womanhood that demands you sacrifice your self-respect in the name of being a good wife, good daughter, or good Muslim. Islam never asked you to be good for others while being unjust to yourself. It asks you to be good for the sake of Allah, and this includes protecting your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So to the sister who thinks she must remain silent to be righteous, know this: your silence is not always noble. Sometimes it allows harm to continue. Sometimes it blocks you from your growth. Allah doesn't want a woman who suffers in silence. He wants a woman who knows her rights, who holds firm to her faith, and who does not allow herself to be broken by those who do not fear Him. You can have a soft heart while still maintaining strong boundaries. You can speak gently and yet clearly express your stance. You can love others without allowing them to walk all over you. That's not arrogance, that's recognizing your worth. And where does this worth come from? It comes from your connection with Allah. The moment you begin to define yourself by others, by their opinions, validation, or approval, is the moment you weaken your foundation. But when you define yourself by your Creator, no one can shake you. Some of you have been in relationships, friendships, or families where you were made to feel that strength equates to rebellion and silence equals righteousness. However, Islam does not praise weakness, it praises balance. Islam does not call you to suppress your voice, it encourages you to use it wisely. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, raised women who were confident enough to correct companions, narrate thousands of hadith, debate scholars, and stand confidently in public. Would you call them soft? No, they were strong, not in volume but in purpose. So my beloved sister, if you've been succumbing to the pressure of others' expectations, if you've been drowning in silence thinking it makes you better, or if you've been allowing people to walk over your deen, your peace, and your worth, it's time to stop. It's time to reclaim the strength that Islam has already given you. Stop being gentle in ways that hurt you. Stop believing that patience means erasing your needs. Stop calling it sabr when it's truly fear of confrontation. Start standing firm like the women of Jannah did. Hold your heart high, not in pride, but in taqwa. And remember, you don't need to scream to be heard by Allah. You just need to believe that He sees your struggle, your strength, and your silence, and that He desires more for you than the world has ever offered. Dear. But sister, I urge you to look within your heart for a moment. The softness you carry is not a flaw, it's a divine gift. However, softness without wisdom can become a trap. You must learn to balance your compassion with clarity, your love with limits, and your kindness with courage. A woman of Islam herself for the sake of others. She is someone who remembers herself for the sake of Allah. In today's world, emotional confusion is prevalent. You may be told that being emotional makes you weak, and that shedding tears, expressing hurt, or needing reassurance is a sign of instability. But Islam never taught you to suppress what Allah created within you. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was the most emotionally intelligent of men. He cried when people passed away, expressed love openly, and comforted the brokenhearted without belittling a woman's emotions. Yet, he was the strongest man to walk this earth. Why? Because he managed his emotions without burying them. This is the balance you must strive for. So being emotional is not the issue. The issue arises when your emotions lead you away from your values, when your feelings begin to override your faith, or when you confuse patience with passivity. That's when you must pause and ask yourself, is this softness bringing me closer to Allah, or is it taking me further away? Emotional intelligence is one of the greatest strengths a woman can develop. It doesn't mean never feeling pain. It means knowing how to respond when you do feel it. It means being able to cry without becoming paralyzed. It means being able to feel deeply but still choose wisely. Islam teaches you to regulate your soul, to anchor your heart in dhikr, and to cleanse your mind through prayer. This way, when people mistreat you, you won't collapse. You will rise. How many times have you remained in a toxic friendship thinking you were being merciful? How many times have you tolerated verbal abuse in your marriage, believing you were being patient? How many times have you silenced your own needs to please others, telling yourself that this was noble? Sister, that's not sabr. That's fear. That is the softness that shaitan loves, not Allah. It weakens your boundaries and chips away at your dignity until there's nothing left but quiet misery. Real sabr is not passive, it's powerful. It endures pain without surrendering to it. It speaks the truth when it's difficult. It walks away when something dishonors your soul. It recognizes your worth in Allah's eyes and does not allow anyone to redefine it for you. A woman of sabr does not remain silent in the face of zulm, injustice. She prays, she plans, and she protects herself. She understands that Allah does not love the oppressors, and that includes those who oppress themselves by tolerating what He has forbidden. Some of you have spent your entire lives being too nice to say no, too nice to protect your peace, too nice to hold people accountable. And where has that led you? Exhausted, disrespected, empty. Islam did not come to break your back under the weight of toxic kindness. It came to lift you into balance. Be kind, yes, but don't be used. Be loving, yes, but don't be manipulated. Be gentle, yes, but don't be invisible. There's a reason Allah describes believing women in the Quran as fortresses of honor. Think about that image. A fortress is not weak. A fortress protects. A fortress stands firm no matter how hard the world tries to break through. That is who you are meant to be. A woman who guards her heart, her deen, and her values. You are not a doormat for people to wipe their feet on in the name of patience. You are a servant of Dinaras. Rahman Hasatesh. And He did not create you to live beneath your worth. We often hear about Maryam alayhi salam as the most honored woman in Islam. But do you know what made her so special? It wasn't just her modesty or her worship, it was her strength. She carried her pregnancy alone, gave birth alone, and faced slander and judgment alone. Yet she never lost her dignity and never broke down seeking pity. She turned to Allah and stood tall. Allah Himself says He chose her and purified her above the women of all nations. Why? Because she had tawakkul. Because she had resilience. Her softness did not come at the cost of her strength. This is the balance you must seek. When the world tells you to be quiet, speak the truth with mercy. When the world tells you to accept disrespect, walk away with grace. When the world tells you your value is in being agreeable, remind yourself that your value lies in your taqwa. When people try to define you by your appearance, relationship status, or ability to please them, step back and ask, what does Allah think of me right now? Your strength is not in raising your voice, it's in raising your standards. Your worth is not in being liked by everyone, it's in being loved by Allah. You don't need constant attention to feel valuable. You need constant adhikri to stay grounded. You don't need others to praise you. You need to live in a way that Allah praises you on the day of judgment. Do not confuse obedience with servitude to people. You were not created to worship approval. You were created to worship the one who sees you crying at night, hears the words you're too afraid to say, and knows your value even when others don't. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your softness, guided by divine strength, not worldly fear. If you find yourself breaking down today, if your tenderness has led you to tears, regret, or wounds that no one else sees, then return to Allah. Pour your heart out in sujood, prostration. Tell Him what you're afraid to share with the world. Ask Him for the strength that is quiet yet unshakable, the courage to say no when others expect you to say yes, and the mercy that uplifts others without diminishing yourself. You are not weak, you are just learning. The moment you begin to see yourself through the lens of the Quran, rather than through the eyes of people, is the moment you become powerful. My beloved sister, as you reach the final part of your journey, remember something that can change your life. You are not defined by what people say about you. You are defined by what Allah has written about you. The world will constantly try to label you too emotional, too opinionated, too quiet, too loud, too soft, too strong. But none of that matters if your identity is rooted in Him rather than in their opinions. Your worth does not come from the number of followers you have on social media or the compliments you receive. It comes from how close you are to Allah when no one is watching. The world often evaluates women based on superficial standards: appearance, relationship status, approval, and charm. But Allah measures a woman by her taqwa, consciousness of God, her sincerity, and her ability to remain steadfast even when surrounded by turmoil. If today you feel like you have been living too long for others, pleasing everyone but yourself, giving everything but peace to your soul, then it's time to return to the one who knows you better than you know yourself. Allah doesn't want you to break for people who would never break for you. He wants you to walk with confidence, not arrogance, to speak with wisdom, not harshness, to love with mercy while protecting your dignity as if it were a trust from the heavens, because it is. Look at the examples Allah provided. Khadija, R.A., was not praised for her silence. She was celebrated for being wise, wealthy, grounded, and supportive. She didn't hide her strength. She used it to uplift her husband, serve Islam, and guide her household. Aisha, R.A., was not lauded for pleasing everyone. She corrected the men of her time and stood for truth, using her intelligence, not just her emotions. Salama's advice changed the direction of the Prophet's mission, and he listened. Nusayba, R.A., took up a sword to protect the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, during battle. This is your lineage, your legacy. How can you ever think you are meant to be weak in the wrong way? Being soft in Islam does not mean being weak. It means being graceful. It means your heart is tender, but your will is firm. You can cry in sujood, yet still walk into the world unshaken by rejection. It means your character melts hearts, but your boundaries protect your soul. This is not a contradiction. It is divine balance. Yes, there will be people who don't understand you. They will say you've changed or accuse you of being too much. Let them. You were not created to make others comfortable. You were created to please your Creator. If your growth offends them, let them be uncomfortable. If your strength unsettles them, that's their test, not yours. Remember, even the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was criticized, rejected, and belittled. Did he change his mission to gain approval? Never. He remained firm because his value came from the one above the skies, not from the voices around him. Sister, stop shrinking to fit into spaces that Allah never designed for you. You are not here to be everyone's yes woman. You are not here to constantly explain your decisions, your faith, your silence, or your standards. You are here to live with purpose. You are here to reflect the dignity that Allah wrapped you in when He granted you Islam. If you're a wife, be strong in your marriage, not just in service, but in spirit. Support your husband with kindness, but don't lose yourself in the process. If you're a mother, raise your children, not only with affection, but also with integrity. Teach them that a soft heart must be paired with strong faith. If you're single, understand that your completeness doesn't begin with a relationship. It starts with La ilaha illallah. That is your foundation. That is your crown. This dunya world will always test your identity. One moment you're celebrated, and the next you're forgotten. One day you're cherished, the next you're abandoned. But Allah never forgets. He remembers your tears, your intentions, and your struggles. So don't let your heart be owned by people who don't even know how to carry their souls. Let your heart belong to the one who fashioned it. And when you feel like you're failing, when you give in, or when you become too soft in a way that harms your faith, don't despair. Repent. rise again. There is no mistake too big for Allah's mercy. What matters is that you return to Him stronger, that you learn and that you realign yourself. Growth is not linear, strength is not loud, healing is not instant, but every step you take toward Allah is a step away from what could destroy you. Build a relationship with Allah so strong that losing anything else doesn't break you. Let your salah prayer be your therapy. Let your dhikr, remembrance of Allah, be your lifeline. Let the Quran be your mirror, not Instagram, not culture, and not your past. The Quran shows you who you are meant to be. A believer, a dignified woman, a servant of Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. One who speaks when she needs to and remains silent when it benefits her. One who is soft of heart but unbreakable in belief. Today, I leave you with this message. Stop being soft in the wrong way. Stop. Be letting your fear guide your choices. Stop believing that shrinking makes you more righteous. Stop assuming that silence is always noble. Sometimes real strength lies in walking away. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it involves standing alone. All of this can be accomplished with mercy, beauty, and a heart still full of light. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The strong is not the one who can wrestle, but the one who can control himself in anger." Bukhari, Muslim. This hadith isn't just for men, it applies to you too. Your emotions are a test. Your reactions are a measure. Your ability to respond with dignity, not from ego, but from a place of iman, faith, is true strength. So build that strength piece by piece. Through your salah, through your sabr, patience, through your boundaries, and your love for Allah. When your heart belongs to Him, no one can break it. When your self-worth comes from Him, no one can steal it. And when your softness is protected by Him, no one can misuse it. You are not weak for being kind. You are not arrogant for having standards. You are not unlovable for protecting your peace. You are a woman of balance, a woman of purpose, a woman of light. May Allah grant you the strength of Maryam, the wisdom of Aisha Razi Allah, the loyalty of Khadija Razi Allah, and the fearlessness of Nusaybah. May your softness never be your weakness, and may your strength always be your worship. Ameen.